Hello everybody, it's Andrew Hutchings here with Awesome Cookies. Pyroline or who knows how to... Yeah, they're really great, but that's not what the video is about. So this video is how I do exams at school. The other day, 2 days ago actually. No, yesterday. It was only yesterday. I had a final exam for my university, and it's my last year, my last quarter, so it's like, ooh, very important. And it was a 3-hour exam. So I ended up waking up like 5 minutes before it, so my brain hadn't really turned on yet. So I just took it easy, relaxed, was on my phone for a bit. I don't remember exactly what I studied a little bit at the end. Like, in total, I actually spent 40 minutes of those 3 hours not taking the test. It was also my birthday, and my sister was nice and made me a waffle, and I had a waffle with maple syrup before my test, get sugar to the brain, because you know your brain operates on sugar. Maybe that's why I'm so smart, because I'm always eating sugar. But I don't want to get diabetes, so I gotta lower my sugar intake. Because, I'm always eating cookies, ice cream, donuts, everything. Probably helps my muscles too, but I'm sure that I could lean down real nicely if I cut out the sugar. So yeah, it's like unbelievable. Like, who would spend 40 minutes of 3 hours of a hard exam, like, on their phone, eating waffle? I don't think I went for a walk, but yeah, I don't remember exactly what I did, but I just took it easy, relaxed, and after 40 minutes, I was ready, and I started my exam. I took it, and didn't even need all the time, and I finished it. And that is really how I've done a lot of exams at my university. Now, I don't have perfect straight A's. I don't care about that anymore. Hopefully it doesn't inhibit any pathways in life for me, but after certain life events, I decided that there's a lot more to life than making sure you get straight A's. And it's like, I know the material, so I'm not going to get into that though. So I get A's and B's, I get good grades, but I don't stress out over anything. I'm late to most of my exams. Like when I was right now it's coronavirus, so we're doing everything online. But like when I went to university and on the campus, I would often be screwing around, what someone else would call it, just walking around or something before the exam, get into the exam late. Some professors, it can be a little bit of an issue if you come in late, but you may ask yourself, well, why didn't you just plan ahead of time so that you could get a donut or walk in a circle or whatever you're going to do 20 minutes earlier instead of 20 minutes later? Well, yeah, I could have. And should have. But the point is that I didn't stress out about it. People stress out way too much about way too many things, especially school. They think it's like the end of the world, like they're gonna die if they don't get the 95% on their test. Like, if they were to get an 89, it's like terminal cancer to them. But when you have real things in life happen, you realize it's really not that important to get perfect grades on every single thing you ever do. And I'm a little bit out of it right now. I did spend a whole 2 days putting some effort into school because it's my last year, so I gotta put at least a couple days out of I put effort in before, but in general I don't put effort in. And I'm not saying don't put any effort in, and I'm not saying I put no effort in and get bad grades. I'm saying you don't need to stress out so much. Just take it easy, go to school, or watch your classes or whatever. if it's what you should be studying, you'll remember it. I mean, when's the last time you were doing, reading about or doing or watching something you really like, and you had trouble remembering what it was? Like, imagine if I don't. I'm not a sports person, but imagine you're a sports person and your football players have certain moves or I don't know what it is, but imagine having difficulty remembering those details about something you really are into. You wouldn't need to write it all down and memorize it and go through flashcards and stuff. If you're having to do that, you're probably studying the wrong thing at school. Now, there are times when you have to do that because some things you just have to memorize. And there's just too many small details that are important and you can't possibly, I mean, you can, I mean, I still kind of do. But you do to a degree need to memorize certain things like anatomy. If you have plenty of time, yeah, you can just casually learn it by doing things that teach it to you along the way or reading things. I mean, you know how when you learn something without memorizing it, that's what I'm trying to get at, like through exposure. But if you have like a confined amount of time, like say you got to memorize, say you have to take a test and name every single bone, every single ligament, every single whatever in the entire human body in 5 weeks from now, you're not going to be able to do that by exposure. So that is a time when you would have to just, I don't even know, like that's actually something I've thought, like how am I going to memorize every single thing? But you just have to like draw pictures and label it and like make flashcards and write. I don't know exactly, but you got to do something to memorize. But most of the time, if it's something you enjoy, something that you should be studying. Now, I'm not saying you should only be studying things you enjoy, because you do also need to make money to get food and keep a roof over your head, because maybe what you enjoy can't keep you alive. But hopefully you're studying something you enjoy, which can also keep you alive, and you really shouldn't need to stress out about school. It's not that hard, it's not that stressful. But if you're, really funny is a friend of mine was like, well, if we were talking about the difficulty of medical school. Like, I'm not in medical school. I'm not worried about medical school. I am at normal university doing advanced biochemical classes, hard classes, the kind that you can't just look on the internet for the answers. And the whole class that you spend 11 weeks doing, multiple days a week, multiple hours per day, most people, you can learn like 2 days. I mean, really, if you just spent one whole day, you could learn everything in the whole 11-week class. That's the reality. And if you like it, and if you're smart, and if you are into this kind of stuff, or else, there's kids in my classes who are like, oh my God, that paper we had to read, it took me 8 hours. Why is it taking you 8 hours to read a 4-page medical paper? It doesn't take 8 hours. Like, the only way it takes 8 hours is if you have like zero interest in this stuff and you don't know any of it and you've only memorized the things you needed for your classes and you just have no clue about anything and you've never read any papers before, so you're completely not used to reading them, and then you go and it's like alien to you. But like, I talk about things in science because I'm a scientist, but it applies to all things. But like for science, if you like science, you're probably reading medical studies and scientific research and stuff every single day. Like, maybe there's some days that go by where you just happen not to be on your computer reading something, but for the most part, every single day, you're reading research and studies and papers and stuff. So the fact that someone could be like in their last year of university and it takes them 8 hours to go through reading a paper, a study that's like a few pages long, It means that science is not for them. University did not make them into a scientist. And they should probably do something else. Sadly, those people actually harm the real scientists, just like anyone in other professions that's not meant to do it, harm them. Because nowadays, with the internet, everybody applies to every job. So jobs get a zillion applicants. And they can all look great on paper because these kids that take 8 hours to read a 4-page paper and take 4 hours to do a 20-minute lab, on paper, they went to the same university as you. They did their amazing research. I mean, they could be cleaning out a trash can, and on paper, it's going to look like they're Einstein developing the most complex thing ever. So when the jobs get the applications, they don't know that you actually know this kind of stuff and you're competent, can actually do stuff. They're probably, I would not want to be trying to hire people today like that. It would be horrible. I'd probably start by getting rid of anybody with straight A's. Sadly, that would exclude some good people because some smart people are going to get straight A's. But if you exclude those people, you're going to get rid of a big group of people who are just purely memorizing because they don't actually like it. They just want to memorize it, get their job, or memorize it, go to the next school, memorize, and get their job. Sadly, it could exclude good people. Probably have to do that. And then you'd probably just have to go by everything besides the academic stuff. So look at everything the person wrote about their personal life and their extracurriculars instead of what they supposedly know about science. Because if you were to look at someone's resume with what they know about science and their education, you'd think that they're competent and they know this stuff, but they don't. They went to university, but it's not, they don't know anything. They can't do anything. They can repeat. They can go on page 27, it said A, B, C, D, F. Okay, so what are you going to do? Well, on page 36, it said that blah, 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 blah. Okay, so what are you going to do? They can't do anything. See, this video got off topic, but yeah, don't stress about school. It's not hard. Pick something that you should, why would you look at a piece of paper and go, I'm gonna go study this just because? Or Google each one of them, see which one makes the most money. Well, I'm gonna do this one just because it makes the most money. And then you're gonna go and you're gonna be miserable every single day. Oh, it's so stressful, it's so hard learning this. And this reminds me, I actually forgot to say, but earlier I mentioned that a friend of mine was comparing medical school to but what if you had to study female gender studies or something, instead of as intensely as you have to study science. I don't remember exactly how he put it, but it completely proved my point. Because so I said that most people don't actually like science or medicine who go into it. And he was like, yes, they do. If they dedicate themselves to it, can you imagine how dedicated you would have to be to study the gender studies or whatever if it was as hard as medical school? Again, I can't recreate the situation perfectly, but it perfectly proved my point, because for somebody to think that somebody who loves science, studying science, is anything at all like studying something you hate and don't want to study, shows that they just don't even comprehend that some people actually like learning certain things. When I study science, it's not a chore. It's not, oh my God, it's so much. Oh my God, I gotta read this, I gotta watch this. It's so hard, I gotta take note. No, I like it. I'm glad I'm lucky I get to learn it and put it on my TV and watch it or read it in a book or whatever. It's not like having to get through hard years of something you hate. And for anyone to think that just because you put up with something that you hate doing means that you really love it, no, it means that you hate doing it. If it's a burden for you to learn science or to learn medicine or to learn law or to learn swimming or whatever. It's not for you. Find something else, because when you find what you actually like, it's not a burden, it's not a chore. Once in a blue moon, maybe, sure, when you just have to do something that you don't want to do, but for the most part, it's easy, because it's like, imagine trying to do something you hate for 10 hours straight, and now imagine if you're a video game person playing video games for 10 hours straight. If you're doing something you like, it's very easy to spend a lot of time on it, very easy to dedicate yourself to it, to focus on it, to whatever. But when you don't like it, it's a chore. So yeah, originally I was going to make this video about not stressing out, but now it's kind of like a combination of like, don't stress out, do something you actually like. I mean, do whatever you can get money, because I mean, can't just do what you like if you don't get any money. That sucks, but yeah, just crazy how so many people don't understand that there's a big difference. And I'm not trying to say I'm up here like, what's funny is only because a doctor is considered a high-up position in our society, when I tell people like, I'm a doctor, they're not doctors. Do they go, oh, you just want to be a doctor like everybody else, and like, what makes you think you're... It's like, I'm not saying it because a doctor is this high-up position in our society. If I loved being a sewage person, I would say exactly the same things, but I'm a real sewage person. They're not real sewage people. And people wouldn't be thinking like, oh, well, you just think too much of yourself. It's only because when I talk about myself, and it happens to be scientist, doctor, and that happens to be considered like a high position in our society, that people think, oh, you're being narcissistic. But it's not, it just happens to be what I actually am. But there's nothing extra special about being a doctor, being a scientist, versus being a plumber, versus being a pool person. I mean, yeah, it's great when you create things. Like, honestly, I'd rather be creating awesome things than cleaning pools. But point is that I don't say this kind of stuff, and I don't think that like, oh, I'm a scientist, doctor, just because it's considered to be a high-up position. I mean, I may end up living in a country where doctors don't make any more money than anyone else, basically. I may get a second job and work as a doctor for fun. How many people at university, at least here, would do that? How many people would go through university, go through medical school, if they were going to make the same as a bus driver? Not as many, that's for sure. Now, a lot of people would still go, well, I would rather work as a doctor than work as a bus driver. So you're still going to get those people, but you're going to exclude a lot of the people who purely want to do it because it's seen as a high-up position or making a lot of money. Yeah, I don't know, just crazy, and it sucks that people can't just do what they actually should do, because then it oversaturates the fields. And then our university system, they create these, it's like they, at least in where I am in the United States, in California, people have this idea that you have to go to university, you have to see this list of things you can be in life, you gotta pick one of them and get funneled into it. It's like, no, you shouldn't. You should know what you love, and if university happens to be the place where you can better that skill, go to university. If it's not, go somewhere else or do something else. Like if you love metalworking, don't go to university. Why would you go to like practice metalworking? Go to welding school or whatever. I don't know anything about it. But yeah, I just wish that so many people wouldn't push themselves to do things that they really are not meant to do. In particular, medicine, because it affects other people's lives very seriously. Like, you may have memorized everything in medical school, you may have got good grades on your tests, but if you are not a real doctor, not a real scientist, and somebody's health or their life is in your hands, chances are you're going to screw it up, and it really sucks for that person. So you should not work as a doctor. And I am very careful nowadays. I don't call people, I say they're people who work as doctors. They're not doctors. They're people who work as doctors. Now, in my intros, I always say I'm not a doctor. That's for legal coverage. But personally, I consider myself, it's not even that I consider myself, I am a scientist and a doctor. It's not what I think, it's not my opinion, it's reality. I don't have a medical degree at the moment. I don't have a license to practice medicine. Doesn't mean I'm not a doctor. If Leonardo da Vinci didn't have he didn't. I don't know a lot. Maybe he did go to art. I have no idea. But if Leonardo da Vinci had a certificate versus not having a certificate, does it change what kind of artist he is? If you go to school and get a degree in art, are you suddenly an artist? No, you're not. You're not an artist just because you get a piece of paper that says you got a degree in art. Just like you're not a doctor just because you go to school and you get a thing that says you're licensed to practice medicine. You're just somebody who's working as a doctor. Unless you actually are a doctor and you went through school just to get licensed. That's like what I'm going to do. Plus you get to learn more. I'm excited to learn more. I want to have the luxury of being able to and having the resources to learn. Well, I think I've gone on long enough and got off topic of the original video, but yeah, no need to restate anything. As usual, you can hire me for training, advice, consultations, plans, coaching, whatever it is. Same thing with diet, supplements. Not medical advice, though, because as you know, I'm not a licensed physician and I don't want legal trouble. I like my life simple. I don't want legal problems. You can have legal problems. I don't want legal problems. So instead of giving you medical advice, I just gather medical information, consolidate it all into one place, and I present it to you, along with my non-licensed physician opinion about the matter. I would never dare give you medical advice. And luckily this video is still recording because it had a problem. And my website is andrewhutchings.org. My Instagram is natural_true_fitness. And check out my other videos. I got like 250, most about fitness and fitness-related things. And click the like and the subscribe and leave a comment. Help me out. Maybe someday I'll make some money off YouTube and then I can dedicate myself to scientific research and find out some really cool things and share them with you, and you'll benefit from it. I'll benefit from it. Personally, I would like to live forever. Probably I won't have the time and resources to dedicate myself enough to it to actually do it. If I was a multi-billionaire and I could spend every single day just getting closer to that goal, I'm pretty sure that I would live forever. It's not like there's going to be one magical way, but in reality, I got to spend my time going to school, making money, doing various different things, not purely focusing on the goal of living forever. But who knows, if I make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year off of YouTube, I could dedicate myself just to researching life extension stuff. And I would certainly fix some other diseases along the way. Personally, I think cancer within a couple of years will be just like a common infection. It should be. Whether it will be or not, that's going to be like political in a sense. Just too much tied to money. But cancer, it's sad. It really seems like within a few years, if we just focused on figuring out the molecules and the immune system. We already know some of them, but if we figured out all of them, because it's going to be different for each cancer, and some of them are going to evolve and change, but basically we should be able to get the immune system to kill the cancer. And you should get cancer, go to the doctor, you get a treatment. It's probably not going to be a pill, probably going to be an injection. Probably going to work, but it might not. Just like antibiotics, you get an infection, you go to the doctor, you get your antibiotics, but occasionally it's like a resistant strain, so then you got to take different antibiotics. Yeah, personally, I think cancer should be like that within a few years, but probably it won't be because it makes a lot of money doing expensive treatments. I mean, of course, they can make these treatments expensive. And that's what I consider myself really lucky because I got to learn about the immune system and cancer at my university. It's one of the very few, probably like 3 things that I've learned at my university that I'm actually really glad I got to be exposed to. Because I would not have learned them if it weren't for my university. But 95% of everything I've done at university was just to get a piece of paper diploma, not to actually learn. And in medical school will be probably about the same way. For the most part, I'm just doing it to get a license, but I'm really excited for those little bits here and there that I'll learn that will really improve my understanding of things and will really give good insight into certain issues. Like learning about the immune system and cancer, and it's like, oh, why do we still have cancer? It should be. I know it's complicated, but it's not that complicated. I mean, if you're rich, give me $1 million and I'll solve most cancer for you in like 2 years. I mean, if we had to make a contract, I'd say give me 4 years just to be safe. But yeah, I mean, if someone rich is watching this, you can always hire me to do scientific research for you. And I would get results. Most people don't get results.